Josh Heupel, would you say, is already well paid considering what he has accomplished? Well paid, not overly paid or grossly underpaid, just well paid.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that he is in charge of Tennessee's offense from the top of the cap to the tips of the shoes?
Yes.
Okay.
I hesitate because I think he gets input, but he's the final guy. He's the play caller. He runs the offense.
So ultimately, that and he's the head coach, the buck stops with him. Mm-hmm. Now, Tennessee had to go hire 2 coaches to replace coaches that left, and there might be an upgrade in pay there. We don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. My contention now is with a Josh Heupel coming off an 8-win season, I thought that was about as disappointing as it could be. I'm not ripping Josh Heupel. I think Josh Heupel is going to be a fantastic coach and win a championship at Tennessee. But what a good look it would be if he said, everybody gets raises on this staff. That Garner guy deserves one. That Banks guy deserves one. I'm just going to take a little bit of a cut, helps him in PR, and he can divvy that out to coaches. Or nowadays, he could just divvy that out to a player and make Tennessee's recruiting classes that much better. So
he can't divvy that out to a player.
Sneakily? Could that money
and the NCAA is breathing right down your throat.
Okay, let's take out that last part.
Yeah, let's do.
Okay, for the PR argument, and then
he's going to donate to Spire Sports, huh? Okay.
Yes, well, he could do that, couldn't he? Or could he?
I guess he could.
Okay. Well, then we're putting that back in. He's donating it to Spire Sports. Okay. How much? Not that he needs equity, but how much would that buy? That would be pretty huge.
I think there would be a lot of people interested in that. I think he would win over some people by saying, boy, what an unselfish act. But I don't think you can just focus on Josh Heupel. What about Mark Stoops? How come Jimbo Fisher didn't take a pay cut? Look at all the money he was making. So I can't just focus on one guy to do that. And besides, Tennessee's budget is $200 million. Heupel doesn't need to donate any money for Tennessee to pay his coaches more. And they should not lose out on a coach, an assistant coach, because of money, unless it's ridiculous money, like $2.5 million for a position coach.
Well, that's very good said. Portions of the program brought to you by Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Caleb, who's crazier, me or Jimmy? I think it's me.
I don't think you're that crazy. I think
really?
I don't think this is a bad idea at all, but in a different way. Jimmy, yes, you're right. Josh Heupel can't just give that money to his players. But as we all know, money for the athletic department is based on what the university spends, but also what the boosters donate. So any more money, a coach's pay, that's more money boosters have to donate to the program to pay the coaches. So if Heupel takes a pay cut, the boosters don't have to donate as much money. They can take that money and spend more on NIL. And this is where I'm at. And this is why I've said, not just Josh Heupel, over the next 10 years, you're going to be entering what I would call the Moneyball era of hiring coaches in college football, where people are going to try to identify, even at big programs, coaches who are a lot more affordable on the open market so they can save that money that the boosters would have to pay for the donate to the university to spend on the money, and those boosters could then take that money and use it on NIL collectives. And that's where I think Heupel should do it.
Jim?
Well, I'm not on the same page. So here's the thing too, the Moneyball part of that. So I don't know if Nick Saban would have checked those boxes for you, but look at the amount of money he made for Alabama. Look at the amount of money he made for the athletic department. Look at the donations. Look at the number of students that flocked into Alabama because they had football success. Look at the incredible enrollment the University of Tennessee has had because of the recent football success. And here's the other thing too. When you say take a pay cut, so let's identify that. Are we talking about 50,000? Are we talking about 2 million? How much are we talking about when you say pay cut? That has to be identified. The other part is, I'll mention it again, you got a budget of $200 million. So you've still got plenty of money to pay any coaches whatever you want. So that shouldn't be an issue. Now, I do know there's some boosters that refuse to donate to NIL. They'll donate to the school, but there are plenty of boosters that are donating a lot to Spire Sports, right? Hadn't Spire Sports bragged about how they are as lucrative as pretty much any collective in the country? Correct?
Make them more lucrative.
They're doing okay. They're doing okay.
Yeah. So I would be more inclined I would pay the money to get the great coach, because I think the great coaches pay off in terms of revenue, attendance, the whole gamut of your athletic department and university.
And let me ask you this question, kind of off in the left field, but you're used to that. Could you see one day Tennessee's offensive line, coached by Glenn Ellerby, a proud sponsor of Pinnacle Bank? Could you see naming rights leaking into that of players or coaches, as there's going to be so much money that's going to flow in there? I wonder if there could be a deal. Nico's touchdown pass in the third quarter brought to you by Champies.
I hesitate to say no, because I've seen a whole bunch of things that have happened that I did not think I would ever see happen. So I'm going to lean toward no, but I'm not going to close the door on it. Well, I know this is a little bit different, but it's hardly Thompson Bowling Arena anymore, right?
It's not. It's practically not.
In fact, the announcers and the people are told you can say Thompson Bowling Arena on first reference, and then everything after that has to be Food City Center. You cannot say Thompson Bowling Arena again. That's what they've been told.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean they have to do it if you're Tom Hart, but it does mean it if you're Bob Kessling.
Yeah, it certainly does. Well, I mean, Jimmy, they've made that thing, the Food City department, so fast. I got lost in the produce department just looking for a Diet Coke. I don't think a lot of people know that the Thompson Bowling family is not real happy about that changing names or getting rebranded or whatever the case may be. I kind of thought they might talk publicly more of that. Are you at all surprised they haven't? They did reach out to me at one point.
Reached out to you?
Just that they weren't happy about the changes, and then as a follow-up email, nothing became of it. I'm surprised, honestly, that they haven't spoken out about the fact that, for those that don't know, Thompson Bowling was supposed to be a lifelong naming right.
Well, the Thompson family is upset, and in fact, I was told that somebody in the athletic department was supposed to call them and tell them what they were doing, and didn't make the call.
Oh, oops.
Oops is correct.
Okay, so
now, a call was made to the Bowling family, but I've talked to him. In fact, I played tennis with the former president's son, and he said they were not offended at all. He said the only reason my dad's name was up there is because he was a president and B. Ray Thompson liked him. So they weren't offended, but the Thompson family was offended, in part because they weren't even notified. Okay, sorry, Caleb.
No, so it's fine. I just wanted to get back to this real quick, because I want to push back on something you said, where like Nick Saban brought in all this money. I get that, Jimmy, but that's like, okay, in baseball where there's no salary cap, if Mike Trout's on the open market, yeah, you go ahead and pay him the money. But if you're the A's or even the Red Sox back in the early 2000s, you still, if you don't have that one player or that one coach, and we can't sit here and say that Josh Heupel's Nick Saban, I think you moneyball it still. I think you moneyball Josh Heupel. And I think that money can go back to getting other players. And by the way, the Angels are paying for not moneyballing Mike Trout, because he's never going to get a ring there.
I can't compare pro sports to college, although they're getting closer, aren't they? They're even harder to identify, but they're run differently. In baseball, you have collective bargaining, right? NBA, NFL, it's all collective bargaining. It's a different animal than what you have, but I wouldn't run the risk of saying, you know what, I'm going to take this coach because I can get him for $3 million less than this other guy. I don't know if he's any good, so I'm going to hire the guy for lesser money and pass on a guy that I think is a proven coach. I think we've seen enough failures in hiring college football coaches that hiring somebody like, oh, let's just pick somebody, Butch Jones, is not a good idea.
No. That's very true, and I do think
who would have won the SEC Goober poll if he were still in the SEC.
He would have.
That's a title. He would have made a banner out of that with all the other silly banners that he had.
I just posted on our message board. I'm completely blown away that Lane Kiffin's getting not just beaten but blown away. Eli Drinkwitz with 58% of the vote, biggest goober in the SEC. Shane Beamer, second, 30%. Lane Kiffin, 12%. Kalen DeBoer not getting a vote yet. I don't think we know if he's a goober yet, but boy, it would be hard for me to have guys that I hired walk right out the door less than 48 hours.